Okay, hi, we're doing this. Hi, what's up? Did I charge my battery? Okay, okay, hey everybody. Oh, fuck. This is as good as it's gonna get. Hey everybody, and welcome back. This is my second time trying to film this video because the first time I tried to film it, I made a massive, grave, apocalyptic, disgusting, shameful mistake. Okay, let me just get into that real quick in case anyone's curious. As you can see, I have not as much lighting over here. I film with my ring light over here, my camera over here. Look, I can't do this unless I see what I look like, so I can't attach the camera to the ring light. Okay, so the dark side of the moon is gonna have to make do for now. But yeah, so the other day I used one of my spare lights to light up this portion of the face, and it looked decent on the camera, but when I loaded it on the computer, it was nightmare fuel. There's no way I can ever sleep knowing that I posted a video where I looked like that. Just no, but here I am, a couple days later, trying to film my February wrap-up again on March 10. But here we are once again, and I am going to tell you, my lovely friends, about what I read in the month of February, okay? The month of love, where I read about serial killers and couples that hate each other. Multiple serial killers, actually, now that I'm looking at my list. I did read one romance book. Yeah, we're gonna get into that. Yeah, literally my entire wrap-up is couples that hate each other, serial killers, and one romance book. Guess which one I fucking hated. So, what did I read in the month of February? Interesting question. Words. Okay, we're here. Let's do this. So the first book I read in the month of February was also the best book I read that month, and that is Perfume, The Story of a Murderer by Patrick Suskind, and this is a book about a serial killer. We basically follow this guy named Jean-Baptiste Grenouille. He was born in the poverty-stricken fish markets of France, and all his life he was a survivor who had never been shown any ounce of love or empathy. However, he was gifted with this supernatural sense of smell. He was gifted with a magic nose, a nose that could do magic things. I did a full video on this book, and it was 18 minutes long. It's this one, in case any of you have read that book and would like to watch a more in-depth, eloquent discussion of this work of art. Because admittedly, I don't have the ability or the words to give a quick summary of this book. What I can say is that he discovers that scent is his life's purpose, and this leads him on this murderous path because he learns that the best scents in the world come from live human flesh. Okay, simple enough. So as you can imagine, a lot of shit goes down. So yeah, I wouldn't really recommend this book too widely because this one is far more verbose, you know, very flowery language. It was written in the 80s, and it does take so much longer to read because of that language, but it is ultimately very rewarding in the end, should you choose to embark on this journey. But if you're hating it after the first 20%, then you can DNF this one because it's not gonna be your thing, in my opinion. I, however, am a huge fan of the film. It is one of my favorite films of all time. Having read the book and having been in Jean-Baptiste's head and seen all the nuances in the description of the scents and his inner world, I do feel like this book did elevate my enjoyment of the film. But then the film, on the other hand, has the amazing acting, the cast, Alan Rickman is in it, the cinematography, gorgeous from start to finish. So I think the film and the book complement one another. So that's what I'm gonna say on that. The way Patrick Suskind analyzed the mind of this murderer, this sociopathic outcast from the day he was born, and how he tied all of this man's life events into what he eventually became, is just so good. I was so impressed by that. I also really appreciated the mad genius trope, you know, characters like Raskolnikov from Crime and Punishment, and even to some extent Light Yagami from Death Note. Really good. Loved this book so much. I can't say enough about it on this, so apologies if this incoherent rambling wasn't that good, but I do get into it far more in the video I alluded to, so link down below. So the next 5 books I read were for a vlog I did, and that was me reading the Mindfuck series. These were books that got very popular on TikTok. I did a whole vlog on these books, but I'm gonna go through them one by one over here. No spoilers, don't worry. So the first book in the series is called The Risk. We follow this woman named Lana. She's got a harsh past, and she is a serial killer. Thrown into the mix is this FBI agent named Logan, and the two hit up this romance, and what he doesn't know is that she is the killer who is responsible for the investigation that he is conducting with his team. And all the while, a romance is building up, and she has to navigate between getting revenge and being a killer, whilst also being a lover to this FBI agent who will stop at nothing to find out who this killer is. So it's like a sexual cat and mouse game. Pretty intense, pretty good. The covers of these books are so deceptive. What you're seeing here does not in any way resemble the content of the story. Yes, there is some, privates smacking. However, this cover would lead you to believe that this was a cheap porno, and that is just not the case. No, this is a thriller, good for her revenge novel through and through, and I was very happy with it. The writing isn't the best, I will admit, but it's not glaringly bad, okay? It's not like Den of Vipers. There's really nothing that can be compared to Den of Vipers. I've never quite read anything like it. The first 30 pages, that is. I couldn't go beyond that. I also really loved Lana's internal monologue. She is somebody that really enjoys murdering, and when you find out about why she is so hell-bent on getting revenge, you're like, girl, go, you get it, girl. Next one I read was Sidetracked. That is book 2 in the Mindfuck series. So Logan's department screwed up in the first book, not gonna say how, but that does leave some problems for him and Lana, especially because there is another killer going around doing stuff, and Lana is thrown in the mix because she's dating the guy who is investigating that killer, who the killer is going after. It's a whole thing, okay? So despite the fact that this does feel like a side mission for the most part, this book does feel a lot more disconnected than the rest of the books, but there is revenge here, and it does actually have consequences for the subsequent books. We do get to meet more characters, namely a man named Jake, a woman named Grace. Jake's reason for wanting to be part of this whole revenge scheme is so charming and lovely. Also, the cliffhanger at the end of this book is like, bitch, you are gonna wanna hop into book 3 so fast after this, you're gonna get freaking paper cuts reaching for that next one, okay? Okay. Alright, so book 3, Scarlet Angel, amazing as ever. Chapter 12, oh my gosh, what the hell? St. Abbey has this amazing thing where she shows you events from the past, the thing that happened that is causing Lana to want to get revenge, and she splices those awful things with the revenge scenes, which makes it all the more cathartic. Awesome stuff, great book, amazing. And then book 4 is All the Lies. This book opens up telling us pretty much everything that had happened that is causing Lana to want to get revenge. And this backstory is dark, y'all. I mean, it is intense. I wanted her to cut a bitch. I wanted her to smack a bitch. I wanted her to kick a bitch. Anything you could do to a bitch, I wanted her to do to these people that perpetrated the thing in her past. I don't want to get into it, but it's bad. It is like real bad. And then book 5 is Paint It All Red, and yes, this is the finale, and it is a proper finale if I ever saw one. It does get a bit over the top, admittedly, so it does require perhaps the most amount of suspension of disbelief, but regardless, it was an absolute blast, and I really loved it. And I mean, yes, the suspension of disbelief was a thing, but by then I was already pretty much on board with the series as a whole, so it didn't really bother me. The build-up was great, the ending was super satisfying, and yeah, overall I loved this series. If you've already read this series, I did a full vlog over here. Be sure to check that out, and yeah, hope you have fun. So the next book I read is The Dare by Harley LaRue, and this book is pretty kinky, okay? Okay, yeah, the plot isn't that impressive, but the outcome is. So just to give a quick summary, we follow this girl, she's in college, and it opens up with her going to this party, and at the party is this guy that she had had some history with. This guy got expelled from the school they went to because he held a knife to this girl's ex-boyfriend, her boyfriend at the time, and he got expelled because of that. And this evening they end up playing Drink or Dare together. So it's like beer pong, but if the ping pong ball lands in a dare cup, you have to either do a dare or drink the beer. So it goes from there. The dares get more and more intense, but all of this intensity happens within the domain of consent. So just seeing how much they're able to do and seeing how this increasingly daring and more kinky stuff serves as a way of them coming to a certain understanding with each other is actually really nice. Also, I should add that when I was in high school, I never got invited to parties, okay? So stuff like this was completely alien to me. So reading about it did give me a sort of glimpse into what I was missing, but I didn't have to actually show up and socially interact with other people. I got to have my cake and eat it too with this book. Also, there are clowns. Okay, why? I don't know, but they're in this. There are clowns in this book for some reason. So if any of y'all are into that, it is definitely a thing that happens in this book. So the next book is a book called Black Sunshine by Karina Halley. Apologies if I mispronounced that. And this is the one romance book I read this month. And I know some of you might be wondering, McKay, why would you read a romance book? Like, that is so not you, and I completely agree. I read this for a live show, and I buddy read this with my friend Jan because she was hosting the live show and she was kind enough to invite me. And unfortunately, I was not a fan of this book at all. I do have many problems with it. It is very, very pedestrian. The first 30 pages of this book is like a complete copy-paste of Mortal Instruments' City of Bones. We follow this girl. She thinks she's a human, but she's part supernatural creature. In this case, part vampire, part something else. I'm not gonna divulge what this is. She's a 20-something. She's got tattoos. She goes to clubs. And in one of these clubs, she sees a mysterious man. So yes, I was getting flashbacks to Jace and Clary, and not in a good way. Her parents aren't who they say they are, yada yada yada. Even if you haven't read, like, you know, urban fantasy, YA stuff, you've seen this story before, trust me. Now, I am gonna give a negative review of this book because I didn't like it, but in the interest of providing, you know, both sides of the argument, just in case any of you happen to be a fan of this type of story, I will link the live show down below so you can see the other side, because Jan did give it 5 stars. However, I gave it 1 star. The setup was so interesting. Basically, she gets kidnapped in this Uber and taken to this place and is held hostage by these vampires who tell her that they are going to auction her off because her blood is like rare, or some shit, whatever. Bullshit about her blood being a thing. And so they're auctioning her off to the highest bidder, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna be sold, and it's gonna be like darkly romantic and super like borderline dark and juicy and scandalous. Girl, no, that's not what happens at all. It goes completely off the rails after the first 30% and just turns into this extremely dull smut book, and the sex scenes, oh my gosh, they're so boring. I honestly feel like I read the same scene 5 times in a row. I had the scenes memorized and I could just have a stopwatch out and just like click it and time it for when the next thing that I knew was gonna happen. He starts off slow and then he slams into the hilt, and I was just like, okay, the hilt's gonna get slammed into in 3, 2, ding ding ding. That's how predictable the scenes were. It was just, no. The writing is ridiculous. The dialogue is hilariously bad. Like, you are my weakness. We have darkness in us. Shut the fuck up. And what bothered me the most was that this is one of those books where the main conflict is whether or not the 2 main characters are gonna end up together. There is no villain. There is like barely any story in this book. Every single thing that qualifies as plot or story or motivation is exposition. Like, there's so much exposition. Some of it is interesting. They do get into this whole thing about the original vampire, you know, from back in the day. That was interesting. But literally it's just exposition and boring smut and a cringy romance with bad dialogue. And the ending is like, they pull a kind of villain-ish out of completely nowhere. And it just doesn't cut it, okay? I mean, the bar has been raised too high for a book like this to count as something worth recommending, and I just didn't like it at all. I gave it 1 star, I'm not a fan. But again, if this does sound interesting to you, I will leave another perspective down below. So let me know how that goes. I am a bitch, but I am fair. Alright, so the next book I read was a thriller, and that is The Arrangement by Kirsten Moglin. And I buddy read this with my twin, Meg. We pretty much have the same exact reading taste, minus her opinion on I'm Thinking of Ending Things and The Summer I Died. So yeah, it was really fun messaging back and forth because this book was so freaking juicy. It's about this couple that secretly hates each other, oh my gosh. And they come up with this arrangement to basically permit cheating to occur once every month. So they get to go out on dates and do whatever, and they don't have to disclose what they did or who they went out with. And of course, it's a thriller, so things gotta take a turn for the worst. Some bad shit's gotta happen. If I was in a relationship and the other person asked to do this, I would leave so fast. Like, red flag, no thanks. Like, I am willing to overlook so many red flags, but this is like a bitch, get the fuck out, no thank you, goodbye. I highly recommend buddy reading this book with someone because y'all don't even know about the twists that are awaiting you in that 3rd act. Like, bitch, that 3rd act, what the fuck? Super fun. I read the whole thing in 1 day with my eyes. I typically only read fast when I'm listening to an audiobook, and when I read with my eyes, I don't read that fast. But with this, devoured. Devoured, okay? Next. The final book I read this month was also a thriller with a main couple that hates each other, and that is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This is my 2nd book by Alice Feeney, first one being His and Hers, and I had an absolute blast with this book. I actually vlogged the whole thing, so if you're interested, here's the vlog. Be sure to look for this, link down below. But yeah, this book was super fun. I had an absolute blast, a good time, an amazing time. So we follow this couple, Amelia and Adam, right? Amelia wins this raffle and she wins this trip to this abandoned church somewhere in a snowy area, and she takes this as an opportunity to fix her relationship with Adam because their relationship is on the rocks. And honestly, a vacation like that doesn't sound like something that would fix anything. Okay, I don't like the cold weather. I don't do well in the cold. I need sunlight, I need summer, I need the beach, I need the warmth, because it's like a nice warm, the earth is hugging you, a nice big hug from the earth when you're in warm weather. Cold weather just doesn't do it for me. It's just very like aggressive and uninviting. And yeah, this book has so many tropes that I love. Super intense, super thrilling. I did not guess the final twist, which was lovely because I love surprises. Yeah, I gave this 4 stars, really good, highly recommended. And if you have read this book, do watch my vlog. And yeah, hope you have a good time. So yeah, those are the books I read in the month of February. And I sincerely hope this video is usable because I am not refilming this. Whatever this is what I'm using. Thank you so much for watching. Like and comment and subscribe. And yeah, I hope to see you in future videos, and as always, take care. I lose myself